Welcome to Truth No Chaser. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jay.
And I'm Frank. And this is the podcast for Black people, by Black people, about everything Black.
This is our flagship production. It is a shot of truth, stirred with bold opinions, reversing the miseducation of the Black community as it relates to culture, health, and politics.
Mm-hmm. And joining us today, we have Miss Cherese C. Clark Wilson.
Yes.
Long name. Welcome to the show.
Thank you all for having me.
An attorney has to have a long
right.
name. It's like the trade.
She could have been a firm by herself.
Right. So she forgot the Esquire at the end.
Esquire.
Esquire.
Okay.
Esquire.
My apologies. We are discussing navigating a divorce and family law and the things to know.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get into it, let's get into her bio. Cherese C. Clark Wilson, Esquire, is a native of Paducah, Kentucky, attended Spelman College, and then went on to further her academia at Georgia State University Law College, graduating with a Juris Doctorate degree in 2012. She is a founding partner of Clark, Lowry, and Lumpkin, and a trailblazer in the courtroom with over 1,000 cases under her belt. Cherese has been recognized by her peers and selected as Super Lawyer Rising Star of Georgia from 2016 2021. She has been dedicated to defining justice in the family law context for her clients and their children. She handles domestic relations cases throughout the Atlanta metro area, ranging from divorce, child custody, child support establishment and enforcement, paternity, and alimony, just to name a few. Cherese is a loving mother, a bonus mother, and a wife, and also the owner and creator of Legally Speaking LLC, an on-leak boutique. Let's welcome Cherese to the show, y'all.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
y'all.
yes.
Thank you.
What's
Thank
going
you.
on?
Made me feel like I need to do more in my life.
Right, and that's just like a snippet of her bio. She sent over a 10-page. I would say, no, man. Look, girl, you got us over here like, dang, let me get myself together.
I appreciate that.
So your legal career, did it begin in your current track, or did you begin and you found that way? Let's talk about that.
So I'm going to date myself a little bit. Mm-hmm. So when I was in 6th grade, I thought it was really cool that the O.J. Simpson trial, Marsha Clark had my last name.
The white lady, Marsha Clark.
Yes,
right?
yes. No relation. But I just thought it was cool. So I looked into what she was doing. I thought it was cool. And ever since then, I wanted to go to law school. So I just did what I needed to do. So that's how I ended up getting here. But I was a criminal investigator for about 6 or 7 years. And then went to law school part-time. So I did the part-time track and then got out a little bit early.
Right.
But long story short, I'm here. I used to do death penalty investigations.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So that's a big jump. Like, you know, isn't it like to go from that? Then what would inspire you to get into divorce? Family law, excuse me.
To be very transparent, being a family lawyer, I've experienced it personally and professionally, right? So I always wanted to be like this kick butt criminal attorney. Annalise Keaton, How to Get Away with Murder. That was going to be my jam.
Yeah.
And then when I'm looking at a divorce personally, it's just kind of like, okay, what's this about? And to my representation, I wanted to make sure that nobody went through it in the same space that I went through it. So that's what made me find this niche of family law.
I'm pretty sure that you have like investigative processes that you have to go through with but that has to be a world of difference from death penalty investigating. Right? Yes,
maybe not.
Or do they have similarities?
Right. So actually they do have similarities because they talk about how family law is good people on their worst behavior and criminal law is bad people on their best behavior when they're in jail. So to see both sides of that, and sometimes family law and criminal law intersect. We have protective orders, TPOs, restraining orders, things like that. So sometimes my worlds intersect. But the good part is that those investigator skills that I've built over the years are helpful in family law through a process called discovery. And what discovery is basically gathering information before a divorce or before any kind of a family law case. So if I have questions, I may send interrogatories.
Right.
If I'm looking at bank statements and I see a Gucci watch, I'm going to ask you, please answer the following. When did you get the Gucci watch? Who was it for? And where is it now?
Right.
So
Why you claiming you ain't got no money?
right. Yeah, you can't pay child support, but you got a Gucci.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Going into we'll start with divorce. Going into a divorce case, I'm, on either side of the table, but let's say maybe I'm even your client. Let me shape this question like this. So I'm your client and I go, what? Really? No. Are you serious? What is the most common thing that people just sit in your office like, are you serious? I didn't know that.
I think everything about family law is kind of mind blowing, right? So y'all know that song, Hours and Hours, yours, mine.
That's a ringtone.
Yeah.
That's everything to me, right? But that's family law in divorces. And a lot of people get real uncomfortable when you start talking about what you brought into a marriage, what you did during the marriage. Because one thing that does blow people's minds is, let's say you come in, client, and you have $100,000 in a 401k before you got married, right? But since then, you now have $300,000 in a 401k.
Yeah, I heard about this.
It's gonna blow your mind that you still got to split that $200,000.
That ain't right.
Now,
That ain't right.
That ain't right.
right? But let's say you move all $300,000 into a joint account. Now there's an argument to be made that it all is marital and not separate.
So the whole, not
The
just the
whole
two.
thing.
Yes, sir.
Or if you use that $100,000 that you thought was yours to, fix the roof or buy a refrigerator, you've converted it to marital.
So they get half.
Yeah. So you see that gas? That's the reaction that you get.
I don't
You
want this
converted
account
the
like
money that you
married.
use, or just that account now became.
It depends. Because if you only use $50,000 of the $100,000, then the question becomes, what happens with the other $50,000 that I had? What account is it in? Is it in a joint account? So now that's subject to division.
Wow.
The other thing that kind of blows people's
Put all
mind.
our money in a joint.
Ha gotcha. But the other thing it's the same thing with debts. So a lot of times when I have clients that come in and say, I have all these credit cards, but it's only in my name, so I'll just keep them. That's not how that works. Let's say you put a refrigerator on a Lowe's card. While it might be in your name because you have good credit, that doesn't mean you walking out of this door carrying that credit at the end of this divorce or that debt. So I think that whole notion, yours, mine, ours, is accurate and a good description of a divorce case.
So when does alimony come into play?
So alimony comes into play. Everybody thinks this is a dirty word, or some people think it's a sexy word. But alimony comes into play when you are able to show that, one, you have a need for the money, and two, that the other person has the ability to pay. So probably the best example would be like a housewife or a house husband. I won't be sexist, right?
Right.
Where
Thank you.
that person has been the homemaker, but the other person has been out making the money. Now we're in a divorce. So there are multiple ways that alimony may show up. It may show up as lump sum. Let me give you $50,000, and then you go on about your business. It might show up as periodic payments, monthly payments, but it can also show up and you having to pay attorney's fees under UCCJEA 1962, where to level the playing field and to account for the disparity in the incomes between the parties, the person that's bringing the gun to the gunfight has to help the one bringing the knife to the gunfight out with their legal representation.
The person that, just to piggyback off our question, the person that receives the alimony, do they have to pay the taxes on it?
Oh, that's a good question. So the tax
great
code has
question.
changed. Yeah, the tax
Shout out
code
to my
has
cousin
changed.
LaQuay. My cousin LaQuay threw me a couple of
So it depends, because with the tax code changing with the last presidential administration, no shade, it's changed. So usually the person that was paying would be able to get that tax break. Okay. But now everything is kind of up in the air.
So I have a question. The whole Dr. Dre divorce, I mean, obviously you weren't in the bedroom or you don't know what's going on in marriage, but do you think that was fair that she got that much money?
I think when you look at it, and of course, without me looking at pleadings, without any of that, you have to think about what sweat equity did she put in that marriage? What sweat equity?
What is sweat?
You wasn't with me shooting Jen? I mean, so she wasn't because she was married? Like, she could have been on the sidelines this whole time and she's still going to get half of that.
Not necessarily. So one exception to getting alimony
like
is if
Ashley.
you've cheated.
I like Ashley.
Right. So it's like if you
him,
committed
Ash.
adultery and you cheated on somebody.
She's a real one, fellas.
Get him, Ash. Yeah, tell him she ain't do shit. That was him to make them beats.
She beatbox or nothing.
Ash going in. I'm happy it's not us.
Right.
Shit, I'm sitting there like,
We just said a typical man.
But, you know, when I
Slip my
talk about
questions to Ash.
when I talk about sweat equity, I'm not talking about like sex and pumping and sweating. I'm talking about who was cleaning the house, who was watching the kids, who was making sure the bills were paid, all of these different things. And so that is what I consider sweat equity. Now, my firm, we sometimes do like a really complicated formula to figure out what the sweat equity would be and what that value would be. But that is also a misconception.
Right.
Is that, you know, I didn't do anything. I didn't make the money. I didn't make the beats with Dre. I didn't make a headphone. But in order for you to be able to make those headphones, what did your wife have to do at home?
I mean, they probably had nannies and maids and stuff. But I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying.
That's a great point because
What if they did?
how are you not sweating making all this fucking money? How are you not sweating? I don't get that. I'm sweating just talking to you. The fuck. So why, how the hell? But I get it though. I mean, and like you said, they have nannies and pairs, all type of shit. You know what I'm saying? And
now, let me throw one to the ladies real quick on
Well,
this
hold on.
one.
I got something else to say. To
Okay,
piggyback
yeah,
off of
yeah.
that, what's crazy is I know we're talking about it in the context of a husband and a wife where a husband is having to pay alimony, but now we are living in a world where
Mary J, how we know?
women are having to pay alimony. So this is not just a
Can't wait for
sexual
my wife to
bias.
get that next job.
equality, man. Equal rights. That's what y'all wanted.
Yeah.
That's what y'all wanted.
Poor Mary
That's what
J.
y'all wanted.
yo.
That's it.
You gotta take the whole thing, not just some of it.
But you got to prove both pieces. You know, yeah, he may look like he has a lot of money or she looks like she has a lot of money, but you always got to remember that second element. Do they have the ability to pay?
So because Mary did and Kendi was the manager, he gets and husband, he gets.
Well, so along the same line, since this is
Prenuptial.
things to know, you know, what are the things about sweat equity that people typically don't realize is sweat equity? Like,
Taking care of the kids is probably one of those thankless jobs. It's one of those jobs that you can't really put a price on. You know, if women start invoicing for vacuuming and washing dishes, then you'll see. But at the end of the day, it's things like that. Things that, you know, basically the breadwinner doesn't really have to worry about. You don't think twice about, you know, if it's not auto pay, who's paying the bills?
Right.
Who's making the house run? Who's, you know, keeping the...
Who had to pick the kids up from school?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, do you in those scenarios that you mentioned, the Mary J. Blige, now those are celebrities. When will you not suggest a prenup? Like, is it never suggest a prenup?
No, meaning always.
You would not suggest a prenup.
Not
Okay.
never, ever.
Hey, I got you. I got you.
wait, so you
I'll
saying-
follow you. No, she would
saying get one.
always, she
Get
would
one.
always
Yeah, that's what
suggest a
I'm saying.
prenup.
Yeah. So always get one because people think, oh, I don't have that much stuff, you know, to fight over. But you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right. So, you know, in the instance of the $1,000 that was in a retirement account, had there been a prenup in place that said, regardless of what happens with this $100,000, it's still separate property, and therefore that's taken off the top. You see what I mean? You know, if you have property, real estate property, and you are about to enter into a marriage, what's going to happen with that when y'all flip it and make it a rental property? Then what's going to happen if the person who didn't pay for the house is making repairs? You had to make that person whole that was making the repairs, even though their name is not on the deed.
that's a big legal term. Being made whole.
Being made whole.
That's important in legal terms.
So explain that. Being
Made whole. So basically, you can't take from somebody and not bring them back to status quo of what they were. So if I have a rental property and my husband has put in $50,000, but I sell the house for $300, he needs to get his money, right? But what blows people's minds is that if you have a separate rental property, and I'm using a rental property, just separate real estate, before you're married. Let's say, for instance, you decide to sell it during the marriage, but then your spouse has put in money. What do?
What do you do?
They don't get the equity So while there might be hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s of equity, they only get reimbursed under the source of funds rule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they only get reimbursed for what you put into it. So if you put in
source of funds rule.
Yep. So if you put in money towards the mortgage, you put in money towards,
repairs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your receipts. Show the receipts.
Now, I think people
say that again.
Show the receipts.
It's a nasty game,
people get in, the emotional side of it, like, oh, a prenup and keeping receipts in case of what happened. Folks get offended with that. That's why they fail to do it.
Yeah,
for emotional reasons.
I remember Charlamagne saying something like that. He didn't do a prenup because of that. Like, want to make sure everything, but it's on an up and up.
It's a smart thing to do.
But you got to think about
but,
it, right?
Yeah.
Like when you get to a divorce and you start coming to me for a divorce, like you are literally at your worst. You're upset, you're impulsive, and all this other stuff. But if you have a contract that you made before when you were in a happy place, it resolves a lot of the tension. Now, is the contract valid? That's a whole different issue, right? You have to have notaries, you have to have consideration, meaning you got to trade off something and exchange something. But just think about it as a just in case, so we not fighting.
Right.
The only thing that you can't prenup, though, is what happens with the kids.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So yeah, I'm gonna get a kids to my great grandmama if he acts stupid. No, you can't do that. And the reason is because under Georgia law, the courts still have to do an analysis under OCGA 1993, which is a custodial analysis. It's a host of factors. So while you may think that you want your grandmama to raise the child, if you and your wife get divorced, at the end of the day, it's the judge's decision about what's in the best interest of the child.
Now, not to, I know you're licensed to only answer for the states in which you're barred, but I know in working your cases, you do have to encounter other laws from other states, which you said about children and what the courts have to do. Are those rules generally about the same with, of course, some variations across different states, or other states could possibly be wildly different on that?
What's so crazy about the law is that every state has what's called the UCCJEA, the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction and Enforcement Act. Okay, and that particular statute governs what do we do when mama lives in one state, daddy lives in another. And so basically all states have some form or fashion of it where, how do I file a custody case if we're living in two different states? So that will be what would govern. And usually with the Uniform the Uniform Child Custody Act, they're going to mirror one another, because you got to think that if you go from one state to another state, laws are different. And under the Constitution, we have to think about the full faith and credit clause, which means that, listen, just because you're coming from Alabama and you come to Georgia, I still got to give Alabama full faith and credit for what they said. Okay. Otherwise, people would just skip town. I don't like the laws here. Hell with it. I'm gone. But that's not how the law works.
So I have a question.
Mr. Charlie stay one step ahead, don't he?
When it comes to divorce, and say you're at your wit's end, you're about to be done, whatever, are there different types of divorce? Because I always hear about like uncontested or other stuff. So can you explain different types of divorce?
So different types of divorce will be a collaborative divorce, where you and your spouse will go to an attorney and collaborate, basically. That's probably the lowest conflict that you can have. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of those. I guess people think I'm the crazy divorce lawyer.
That's the ones in the movies when he sit down and the husband and wife is right across from each other with each other's
like, oh my God, we're going to divorce. It's fine. No worries. No, that's not usually what I get. And then you have uncontested divorces, which are kind of cordial. But that's where you agree on everything. And when I say everything, I'm talking about the marital debts, how that's going to be split, assets, property, the children in custody, the child support, alimony. You literally have to check the box on all of these things for it to be a true uncontested. I get a lot of people that come in like, oh, we're not going to fight about anything. And then when I start bringing up, well, what about the parenting plan? What about the holidays? How are you going to split the holidays? Oh, we didn't think about that. So, baby girl, it's not uncontested. It's contested until we have all the terms laid out. Now, a contested divorce, that's where both of you all have competing opinions. Let's say I get divorced. I want custody of the child. You want custody of the child, or you want 50-50 custody. That's where we have disagreements. That's a contested divorce.
So now, if a child is to say a child is a minor and doesn't want to go with one of the parties, the one that got it's the one that got granted custody of them. Mm-hmm. How does the court now decide that, like child support and custody when it comes to a minor?
So what happens is it depends on how old the child is.
What's the age?
So let's say, for instance, the child is 12 and under. They don't really have a voice.
They don't have a voice.
Right. For 12 to 13, the court can consider it.
Like a tween. Right. They call it. Mm-hmm.
Crazy tweens. Mm-hmm. But then when you have one that's 14 or older, that's when their election, they can make what's called an election by signing an affidavit of election. Saying, hey, I love my mom, I love my dad, but I really want to live with blah.
Gotcha.
Now, the caveat to that is what a lot of people don't understand. They rush out and get these kids to attorneys' offices, and it's super intimidating. I personally don't like affidavits of election because it puts children squarely in the middle. Right?
Okay.
And if I ever did have to do one, what I usually do is get what's called a guardian ad litem involved, which is another attorney that represents children, and have them talk to that child instead of me. So that way it removes me and focus on the best interest of the child. One thing that I want to caution viewers is if you have a child that's made an election, they're stuck for 2 years.
Oh, they can get mad and say, I want to go back.
They can't get pissed off and say, hey, never mind.
I can't be like, I'm mad at mommy this week. I'm going to go stay with daddy.
I'm live with him now,
Doing another election.
You stuck for 2 years.
Right? Election,
right. Two-year term. Huh?
Yeah, it's a 2-year term.
You're a senator.
So
Thank you, Senator. Sit your ass down. You ain't going nowhere.
You stuck.
And so sometimes that really does help circumvent like me thinking that the child thinking that the grass is greener on the other side. I get away with all this stuff at mom or dad's house. So, but you stuck for 2 years.
So, I'm glad you brought up, when a child gets put directly in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, there have been some times where, because I know you outside of here, and I'll tell the viewers, your professional voice is amazing.
Thank you so much.
I mean, the flip is real.
You seen it in action in court? You can't handle the truth.
I actually have seen her action in court during COVID when they were doing online hearings. You could plug in and watch court online, and
you still can.
She's real.
Yeah, you still can in some.
She's a
shark.
Beast.
That's what's up.
But yeah, so there have been times
get your number just in case. You know what I'm saying?
It's all right.
There have been some times where you've actually had to represent children.
Yes.
And be the attorney for the children.
Yes.
Can you talk? I never heard of such a thing, and I think most people probably haven't. Can you talk about how that comes about and what that entails?
So when you are in a custody case or a contested custody case, either the parties can agree to appoint an attorney for the children, and an attorney for the child is called a guardian ad litem, not ad litem, ad litem, AD. And what that guardian does is basically acts as that child's attorney, but we are governed by so many rules like that we can and can't do. We can't come into court and argue because at that point, it looks like I am advocating for a mom or a dad. I'm advocating for the child, right? We have to write reports to the courts when we do our investigation. So when I do a guardian case, or usually any guardian, will give parents a questionnaire. Mine is pretty long. It's usually about 20 to 30 pages, asking them all kinds of questions. And then we interview mom, interview dad, and then we get to do home visits to see where the children are living. And then if the child is old enough, of course, interviewing the child. Now, at that point, if there are different allegations being thrown out, like, there's sexual abuse, defects is involved, then the guardian ad litem's job is to go and investigate that. So being able to put those investigative tools that I have to use as a guardian ad litem and as an attorney is really helpful. Now, there are some good guardians, there are some bad guardians. But at the end of the day, that's what a guardian is in place for. They are expensive. So if you are filing for custody, if anybody's filing for custody and you are contesting custody, the court might make you pay for the guardian. And that could be a different retainer. So not only are you paying your retainer for your lawyer, but you're also helping to pay the retainer to represent your child.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's where people need to put their money where their mouth is. If you really want custody,
right,
let's talk about a guardian. Right?
Wow.
That's good. Now, is divorce handled differently when one party's in the military?
That's a great question.
Shout out to my cousin Quay who gave me that question too.
So actually, yes, it is a little bit different. So when you are doing a military divorce, depending on deployment, we have to sometimes ask the court to stay the proceedings. That just means, hey, can we hold off until we get back from deployment? So in that regard, it is. When you're dealing with the different retirement accounts and the different pensions, that's when it becomes a little bit tricky.
It becomes a little bit tricky. How?
It becomes a little bit tricky because you have to see the years of service. How long were you all married?
Okay.
At times, if you weren't married for over 10 years, you don't get anything.
Have you had to handle anything in family law where involved someone has died?
Yes. I had a case where a litigant died in the middle of litigation. It was really sad. And that was, actually, I've had two. That was the second one. But when you're doing that, it's like, this is why estate planning is so important.
That's what I was going with that. How does estate?
Oh, I see you. Okay. You
yeah,
leave
yeah.
me to watch.
Yeah.
I'm vibing with you. This is why it's so important. And especially in the Black community, we don't talk enough about wills and trust and estates and how to build up our estate when we die. I just lost my dad. And so I'm kind of just learning about all of these different realms. It's kind of morbid to think about, but at the end of the day, when you are in the middle of litigation, that person is still your husband and your wife.
Yeah.
But do you have any type of declaration of what you want to happen if you flatline?
If you were to die, oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Do you want this person that you're in the middle of a divorce with choosing if you're going to live or die?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, getting your wills.
That's
That's deep.
fucked up situation.
That's some deep shit.
That's like
that's a view of karma for you.
Right.
Yo,
Like,
that shit sound like a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Diary of a Black
crazy.
Woman.
Right.
Okay.
And so in that movie, it was the
yeah.
same thing. They're in the middle of a divorce, and all of a sudden, like, I'm still his wife.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to think about that. So executing those documents and signing documents that say what you want to happen in the event that you become incapacitated.
This really is a business.
So speak. So
Being married
it
is a
is.
business.
It really is. So
Says the single folk over here.
speak. Says one like I ain't getting married.
I ain't never getting married.
That answered my question.
Too much.
We call it.
Try to track.
So this is like I said, this is the podcast for Black people about Black people about everything Black. So I'm sure my Black people out here want to know that since we talking about movies, the movie Acrimony, that shit was dope. First off, that movie did you see that with
Taraji?
Yeah.
Yeah, she did an amazing job with that. But that entire situation where she rode with him for. So talk about sweat. She was sweating like motherfucker. Keith Sweat.
Yeah.
She rolled with that dude through all his like inventions failing.
Then
and
when he hit.
Now,
But they got
but they were
divorced.
divorced at the time when he finally did hit. Now, the part of the movie where everybody is split is when he writes the check for like $10 million. Of money that I guess he didn't have to give her, but he gave it to her because how much of a rider she was.
Right.
But he was like almost like a billionaire.
What's the split?
So where people were split, there are people that's like, nah, she should have got more than that. She did,
More? I thought the people was like, he should have given it
She
all.
should have gave it back.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. There were people that went three ways. There were people that were like, that was fair. And there were people that were like, shit.
If I had it like that, so just think about me personally. If I had it like that, and that was the situation come, I wouldn't have no problem writing my ex-wife a check.
For you.
Yeah, I would,
Right, because karma's a bitch,
and
right?
Not only did he,
about that.
not only did he write
And
the
she
check,
rode.
he bought the house back that he had lost. They had lost the mom's house that
He
she grew
paid
up
his
in.
debt to her. She should have just took that and been done with it.
Yeah, that's how you feel.
Yes. He paid his debt to her.
Man. Ash is on it.
Yeah, I feel like that's it. Damn, Ash.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Who you been hanging with?
No, right. because no, seriously, there been a lot of people that be like, hell no, he cheated, and
He didn't cheat.
Well, he did.
No, he
They didn't
cheated.
cheat.
No, I
He
don't
didn't mess
think
with
he
her.
did.
No. She
never
thought she dropped her wallet in the car and she thought he cheated.
No.
He didn't cheat on her.
In college, he did. That's he
wasn't
caught
married.
her.
Remember that.
He caught her right. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like
you
she went
making up
through
facts?
all of that shit. Yeah, that's what people were saying. She went through all that shit with him, and then lost the house and
Why they
ran her and did
why they bringing up old stuff?
bringing up whole shit.
Before they got married. That's
So
big time.
all right, but okay. So the scenario.
All right.
How would that have worked out in court? Like in reality, you understand what I'm saying? So
So if he would have given her the check before the divorce,
because the judge in the movie said it was generous and he didn't have to give you that,
and the judge was correct.
Yes, correct. Yeah,
absolutely correct.
Okay. So the question is, if it would have happened before the divorce, the only way it applies legally.
So she would have got half, or if they was still married when he blew up.
If he would have hit when he blew up, if they would have been married when he blew up, then absolutely.
She would have got half. Okay.
Yeah.
Half.
So she should have stayed.
Yeah, basically.
Should stay at the slot machine.
Listening to your sister.
Listen to the family.
Listening to your sisters. Well, somebody posted that today on social media. Don't let family break up your family.
Ooh, that's deep.
Let that sit with the spirit.
That's deep. You ever? Wow. Now I don't know if you. I'm gonna get messy. I don't know if you're able to actually answer this. Have you ever represented someone and then like during your investigating you realize they were all wrong?
Abso-freaking-lutely. You lucky I didn't drop an F-bomb.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, you could have. But
she said abso-freaking-lutely.
Yes, I had to catch myself. I forgot.
I would imagine that happens all the time though. People come in
crying wolf and then comes down.
People come in the attorney's office bullshitting all the time, leaving all kinds of information
out. And that's the other thing, man.
How do you handle
that?
Talk to
your lawyer. So, you can handle it different ways. Mm-hmm. If you truly didn't know that something was happening, that's one thing, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say I get your credit card statement and you tell me that you were in Atlanta when your credit card statements are showing you were in Jamaica. So you need to explain to me because I can't help you help yourself if you don't tell me what happened.
Right.
And I have to be able to prepare for when you're asked this question. So I try to, when you are talking to your lawyer, even though you think it's a bad fact, talk to them because we cannot protect you unless we know. And I'm going to give you an example. So one of a past case, I had somebody owed like $20,000 in back child support. And I am going hard in the paint, y'all. No, he just doesn't have the ability to pay. And oh God, just give him one chance. Don't put him in jail. And then they showed up with the receipt for where he paid $25,000 for a truck cash.
For a truck cash?
Cash.
Wait, and let me ask you a question. When was that receipt shown? Was it in court, like on the spot?
Oh, yeah, it was on the spot.
Because that's what I was going to ask you.
Right in front of you.
Right in front of me.
Time, like,
so I'm sitting here with the boo-boo face.
So you look. So I know you turned around looking at it like, nigga.
No, listen. No, I was like, you gonna get it as soon as we get out.
Oh, I know you would.
And then at that point, you can't ask questions.
No more questions. No more questions, Your Honor.
No more questions, y'all. Like,
yes, that mama voice. I'm gonna beat you.
What's your go-to? What's your go-to at that moment? What do you do at that moment?
This, I pinch him under the table like that.
Like your mom do at church. Just shut your ass up before.
Oh yeah. I'm about to put paws on you under the table. Yes,
like,
it happens all the time.
Stop playing.
Here I am riding for you, and you.
Yeah, and so and that and that just kind of brings me to the point.
That's got to be embarrassing.
Like, listen, if you have a child support obligation, pay it. Pay it, even if it's $500 and you only got $200. Pay it, because in Georgia there's a case called Killmaster versus Killmaster and Scruggs versus Scruggs. That even if you make a partial payment, the judge can consider that as good faith and not throw you in jail. Pay something. Partial payment.
What is that called again? You said what?
Killmaster versus Killmaster is a case.
How did that come out?
Killmaster versus Killmaster. Everything is a versus. Like, them listening. The original verses.
Yes, it's not verses.
It's the original
case law.
But them last names though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So all right. So along those same lines, but going a little bit different. In consultation with your client, I don't know the rules of attorney-client privilege, but they mentioned something to you that they may not even know was criminal. Or if they do know it's criminal, they done did something criminal, and you're like, what are your obligations as an attorney in that?
My obligations as an attorney under our ethics rules is that I keep secrets for a living. Right? However, when there's a crime being committed, if there's a threat of harm, there are exceptions to attorney-client privilege, but you got to do it smart. Right?
Okay.
At that point, an attorney can withdraw from the case, where they send you a letter, hey, we have a conflict of interest now. Do you agree that I can get off the case, or do you want to fight me to get off the case? Now, why the hell you would want to fight your attorney to get off the case?
You send a letter to the client?
Yeah, send a letter to the client. Because under the Uniform Superior Court rules, attorneys have to give clients 10 days to say, okay, I agree, or no, I don't want you off my case. Right? So then at that point, depending on which way it goes, let's say we have to fight about it, then me and my client are now adversaries.
Damn.
And I need to talk to the judge, in order to I'm going to try to mitigate how much information I say. But if there's an attorney out there watching and you're in this situation, call the bar ethics hotline, give them your bar number, and they'll help you to be able to interpret the rules of ethics so that you don't violate and end up getting a bar complaint and disbarred.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called firing a client, to answer your question.
Firing a client.
I've seen that before. Well, I've experienced that before. Not me. They didn't fire me. But no, I've seen that before in cases I've had to deal with in court. And actually where they had to go before the bar, they did that Law and Order. They go before the bar to get approved to fire their client. Mm-hmm. So yes, that's very interesting.
But and then also probably a good example is if you're on the stand, and I know that what you just said is a lie.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna look at you and probably say, "You sure about that?" And then if you continue to do that, then at that point you leave me no choice but to ask for an immediate withdrawal.
Oh wow.
Yeah. An oral motion to withdraw.
Have you done that before?
I haven't done that in court.
Yeah.
Only withdrawals I've done have been by letter. I haven't been put in that position. Thank you.
Thank God. Yeah.
But you have to get off the case, and everybody on the judge's bench and opposing counsel, everybody's an attorney,
right?
So they know why you just did it without me saying a word.
Ooh. There's so many rules.
What are some examples of conflicts of interest that are not obvious when an attorney can't take on the case?
It depends on what you call obvious. So let's say, for instance, I was working at firm A, and then I transferred to firm B, and then opposing party decides to hire firm B. It's a conflict of interest because I represented their spouse and I know information about that spouse to help facilitate their case. So that's a conflict. Mm-hmm. When a client don't pay my bill, that's a real conflict.
I know that's right.
That's a real conflict.
Yeah, that's a real conflict. When a client lies to you, or sometimes I'm not a good fit. Attorneys aren't good fits for certain clients.
Okay.
Then you got to get off the case and fire a client.
So in lieu of that, like you said, a good fit, do you have to have a divorce lawyer in order to get a divorce?
No, you can represent yourself. Now, that's like straight up, like if you're going against an attorney, that's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're probably going to lose.
But can what if my lawyer is not a divorce lawyer and I want to still use them? Would I be able to?
Yeah, you can definitely use any lawyer. Like any lawyer can do family law.
Right.
No. But my recommendation, is for you to think about getting somebody that specializes in family law.
And so let's talk about that. You used the term to describe your firm one time as a boutique firm.
Yes.
I understand what that meant. Educate people on the importance of a boutique firm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So a boutique firm is a firm that specializes in one area or one specific kind of law. So for us, we don't do personal injury and criminal and business. We focus in strictly on family law. So we are a boutique full service family law firm. Mm-hmm. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but that's something that people have to really, really think about when you're hiring an attorney. Are you kind of like a jack of all trades, but a master of none? Or do you actually specialize in this? And then when you're dealing with, let's say, Fulton County, Georgia, Fulton County looks completely different than the 158 other counties in Georgia because we have status conferences. And then, if you talk to homeboy over here who got divorced in Gwinnett, talk to somebody that got divorced in Cobb, their experiences are going to be completely different than somebody in Fulton, where we're having judicial officers. People don't think about that or hear that term. Judicial officers in Fulton County they're still judges, they're still respected, they're still sworn in and have to abide by the Judicial Qualification Committee rules. But they're right under the main judge. So in Fulton, we have 4 family court judges. And so they have judicial officers under them that kind of weed out the stuff and weed out the crap cases, or they weed out any kind of smaller issues. But at the end of the day, it's the top judges in Superior Court that handle those.
Which brings about an issue real quick from my soapbox. I hate when people are just talking like, yeah, because see, they let do so and so do this, and then what had happened over here, and then they let do that. It ain't the same, and it's like that's a completely different state, completely different judge, completely, and they don't understand how like you have a difference in state laws. You even right down to how different counties function.
Yes,
and then even within the county, you have different judges who preside differently. Some attorneys are like, oh no, I already know this judge does not allow this evidence to be brought in.
But you know what's crazy is they say that good lawyers know the law, but great ones know the judges. Because, you know, one judge might be cool with 50-50 custody, but another judge might be so conservative and say, no, I don't really like that. I really just like a traditional schedule. So, you know, Jay, you're absolutely correct. It just really does depend.
And in Fulton County, the like for criminally speaking, the DAs are assigned to the courtroom, so they get the same judge repeatedly.
Right.
Now, the one term that's been thrown out there a lot often is super lawyer, which you have in your bio. Can you please explain to me?
Yeah, for real.
So what super lawyer is?
Y'all got capes?
Right.
I mean, I left my cape in the car. But super lawyers,
with your neck fan.
right? My chain, but super lawyers is basically a rating scale where I think it's like 2% of lawyers are able to get that. Your peers have to recommend you, and then you also still have to have the support and the profile. So each year, attorneys have to update their super lawyer profile. And if you don't, then you may not be considered. But it's basically your colleaes.
That's a real joint.
So, but
she's calling herself that.
No, because you know what? I hear the term super lawyer on those stupid ass lawyer commercials all the time, and you on your bio it was like top 40, under 40,
that's
or whatever.
Different. Yeah, that's a different.
But that's another thing that's voted by your colleagues as well, right?
As far as the 40 under 40, colleagues recommendations.
That's a different. You can essentially get that. And they have it for different. They have it for different things. Like it could be from your alum. It could be for
But the super lawyers is.
What are the stipulations? But like you have to win a certain amount of like cases.
Now there's some kind of complicated formula that they do. I don't really know.
Oh, it's like a whole analytics.
Right. I'm just like, let me just update my profile in case somebody recommends me.
Okay.
But they want you to continue to grow in the legal field. So, you have to update it with stuff you've been doing. So if you haven't been doing anything in the community or any other awards or accolades, you might not get the profile updated.
I like that, man. I like that. It's like a top 100 in football.
Right. Moving on to back to divorce before we get out of here real quick. So what are the steps that one should consider when hiring a divorce lawyer?
You need to think about what they actually do every day. If they specialize, like I said, in different areas that may not be necessarily a good fit for you. Think about your personality. If you're really, really needy and you know that I'm going to need a lot of hands-on at $300 an hour, do you want me to hold your hand all the time? Or do you want to go ahead and get a counselor involved so that way you can actually use their services because it can get expensive. In that vein, I would also say you get what you pay for. So if you get an attorney and they're charging you a $3,000 flat rate for a custody case, you might need to reconsider because custody cases run anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000. If it's a true custody case, right?
That's a dude that might forget your name.
Right, like, what's your name?
Sorry, y'all. Give me a guy got the wrong
right,
case.
and unfortunately, I do run into cases like that where I do have counsel that do that. So that would be something I would definitely consider. Also, look at the attorney. I'm not really one of those stuffy attorneys where it's like I have the books in the background. I'll drop a F-bomb every now and again. Well, a lot of times, not in court. And my mama's gonna be watching this, so I can't drop an F-bomb right now. But get an attorney that kind of matches your personality.
Right.
And I find that, I vibe a lot better with clients that I can just be down to earth with. If I need to drop an F-bomb, my clients know, don't put me on speakerphone. Y'all know, don't put me on speakerphone ever. And also, how many cases they've tried. That's different than how many cases you've had. Okay. There's a difference between a trial lawyer and a lawyer that's just going to sit and push paper.
Right.
I call them Twitter fingers, where they get real bad and bold behind the keyboard, but then when it's time to try a case, they don't know the evidentiary codes. They don't know how to make objections. They don't know how to perfect a record. They don't even know where to sit. Jesus help me, when you go actually into in-person court. So looking at those things are really important. Not only that you're able to push the paper, able to answer the questions, but you're also able to back it up with the trial experience.
Dope. Do you get petty when you get in the courtroom and you see the other attorney? Like, oh, they got this. I know I'm gonna win this.
I will say that attorneys have reputations, right? You know, if you see certain people on one side, you already know either they're gonna be lazy or, hey, we got to really bring our A game, or they're gonna draw this out. So it kind of helps you to plan your trial strategy too. Yeah. So if I know that I have another side that's super litigious and gonna fight, and I say the sky is blue and they're going to say it's periwinkle, I'm about to tell you, you about to have to re-up some money because we about to just fight over everything. But then there are some attorneys where I know that person doesn't do family law. So I'm going to inundate them with documents because they're not going to know what to do.
Right. Storm and mash shit. Just storm mash. Is it like a receipt for this?
Right.
And then look at them like,
let me file a B-13.
Right. Yeah. You know, and one thing, kind of going back, one thing that I do want the viewers to understand is, you know, there is this urge to look through your spouse's phone. There's this urge to look through emails and see what you can see, but you need to know it's a crime.
Really?
Yeah.
Only if you're married, right?
It's a crime. No,
Wait, say
no,
what?
even married or not,
shit.
it's a crime.
Oh, Ash, you've been doing good.
Right. Right.
And so it's a crime
Cut her mic off.
it's because it's an invasion of privacy. So even if your spouse gave you access at 2:00 and you went in at 3, your access has expired.
Dang.
Wow.
You see what I mean? So
And they bring it up in court.
So the way it looks on an attorney's side is, oh my God, I got all these emails and he's just been cheating.
You're like, girl,
and I'm just like, girl, I can't use any of this, but we're going to try to figure it out. And then what I would sometimes try to do is like read them and do what's called request to admit, where I would send the other party, admit that you talked to Jane, admit that you talked to Jane on September 1st, admit you talked to Jane on September 1st about sex, admit that you talked to her about sex and where you were going to meet. And it's like a request to admit. And if you don't answer those in 30 days, but 33 if you count the mailbox rule, they're automatically admitted.
Oh.
And then you have to file a motion to withdraw the admissions. And then if I got to prove that you did it and you say you didn't do it, now I'm going to ask for attorney's fees. So you have different investigative ways to get information in.
Okay.
That's a lot.
It's too much.
This is a lot.
Live your life, Ash.
So you basically said, don't look through their phone, but if you do, it's gonna be all right.
Right. It's gonna be all right, boo.
Yeah.
Just eat those.
We got you.
Just pass me the
We got
email.
33 days. We got 33 days to respond back to us. Okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
You don't say not 33 days. We good.
Well, before we get up out of here real quick, all right. So this is one of my questions always to guests. All right, in your field, the thing that gets you burning in your seat, like, oh my God, I just need people to know this. What are those things, or what is that thing? You're like, okay, y'all, if y'all don't take nothing away from anything I said here on this podcast, please leave with this.
About any parts of what you do, family law, anything.
That's a good one. I would say for married people that if you have children, you and your spouse automatically, by virtue of you getting married, have 50-50 custody. And so when you're splitting and that person goes to pick up the child from daycare, they haven't kidnapped the kid. They have 50-50 custody by default, which is different than when you have a child outside of marriage. Because if dad tries to go pick up that child, dad has 0 rights. 0. So that's something that I really want people to keep in mind. Stop calling the police when it's not necessary. Stop it. You're taking them from things that really are important when you are just trying to gain leverage. Stop filing TPOs against the other person because you mad they served you. Think smarter.
Can you define TPO? People may not know what it is.
A temporary protective order is basically where you've alleged and said somebody has committed an act of family violence against you or damaged your property in some kind of way, and that without the protection of the court or an order, that they are in substantial fear of their safety and that they're going to be harmed.
Okay.
Y'all don't understand how many times we get protective order petitions after we've served the other party with a legitimation or divorce. Stop using them as leverage. There are really people out here that are suffering from domestic violence situations that need those resources. Stop it.
Now, it's something that you just said that's so interesting. Hold on. Now, if a couple is not married, but they do have children together, you said the dad has zero. Even if you sign the birth certificate, this baby got your last name. And that's automatic. No matter how fit. What if the woman is the one that's unfit, like maybe a drug addict, or she still has 100% custody of
when you're not married?
When you're not married.
Correct. There's the Georgia law.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Under Georgia law, the woman,
so they don't even consider the person that might be financially stable.
Yeah.
The statute says specifically the mom has sole physical and sole legal custody. So if she wants to up and leave and run to another country, and we have to do Hague Convention issues and stuff like that, then absolutely.
And she's not breaking no law by going to a different country.
No. So when on Mother's Day, them single mothers you post, I do it all by myself. Yeah, duh.
Right.
But the way that a way that a dad needs to act in that situation is you need to call an attorney and get the child legitimated. Because what other people don't realize is if you don't legitimate within a certain time, the court could say, "Oh no, you waited too long. You've lost your opportunity interest."
Wait a minute. What's the past tense version of that word?
What?
Say it again.
Legitimized?
Not okay. So is it legitimized or legitimate?
It's no Z. Don't you put a Z? From
they
last
do this
time,
or they do that.
Legitimization. No, there's no Z, people. There's no Z.
Legitimated.
No.
But if you think that your spouse or your co-parent is not fit, and when I say not fit, I'm not talking about she gets her hair done with my child support money. That's not unfit. Now it might be poor decision making if your child is out here wearing Skips and you out here wearing Gucci. That's a problem, right?
Hello, somebody.
But at the end of the day, just do the legitimation process and stop making these verbal agreements and not getting things in writing.
Right.
Stop it.
Yeah. Agreed.
Wow, this is a lot of information.
It is.
Yeah, and one thing I would also recommend to viewers is that if you are out there and you are co-parenting, there are multiple co-parenting apps out there for you to use that can track your distance, track your time, act as that communication portal, so that way nobody can spoof a message. You can tell when the person opens it and reads the email. And I find that use of those the co-parenting applications is very effective with people in a high conflict situation.
So I have one final question on my end. So before a client when they come to you and talk to you about their divorce, do you ever suggest therapy or counseling before your services?
I do. One thing that I ask them is on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm ready to reconcile, 10 being I'm ready for a divorce, where are you? If they tell me anything 5 and lower, I tell them that we're going to stop the consult, and I want you to think about what's called discernment counseling. Discernment counseling is not marriage therapy, where it's like, what are your issues? It's really to discern whether or not y'all need to get a divorce. Now, if you're at a 6 and higher, then we can start talking. Now, when you're at a 10, it's on and popping, right? But, there are some people that are still kind of, thinking about what it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
And so if you're not at a 5, in my opinion, you need to probably go to discernment counseling and not hire me. Use that money towards Junior's 529 plan.
Yeah, because it could be acting off emotion and just come.
Right.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Yeah.
Any final questions, fellas?
No, just
a lot to take in.
Just, let the folks know where they can contact you and ask more questions or schedule an appointment or a consultation if necessary.
We are Clark, Lowry, and Lumpkin, www.cllfamilylaw.com. I am Cherese Clark Wilson, and I have 2 amazing law partners, Naomi Lumpkin and Janine Clark. You can call our office, 404-602-9366, to schedule a consultation. Mention that you heard us on Truth No Chaser, and we will give you a discount on the consultation.
Y'all heard
Thank
that,
you so
y'all
much.
heard
The
that.
drop.
Right.
Got a drop for free.
Hello, somebody.
She probably gonna bill us afterwards.
Tiffany will handle that.
Right.
She got good negotiating skills.
That's what's up. And for more content, and where you can also get merch. You can also visit us at thetruthnochaser.com. Get your gear, look fly, all that good stuff. Cherese, thank you so much for
Thank y'all for having me.
And until next time, keep walking in your truth, Black people.